In the 70s, in the state of Ohio, two little girls were born, just 2 years apart. Their names were Michelle and Christe. They were loved and raised on a dairy farm. Their parents were Hal and Joan Rogers. They all lived in Willshire, Ohio. The girls didn't have a huge life of traveling or even a lavish lifestyle. It was just small town living, going to school, coming home, working on their farm. Really the plot of most movies that love the small town feeling. They raised the girls with morals and values, but the family had really never been anywhere, especially the girls. Joan, the mother, not only worked on the farm, but she worked right out of state too, at a factory job. But Joan wanted a vacation. She wanted to have time with her girls, and the father, Hal, thought it best that he stay behind and tend to the farm. So a trip to Florida was set for the girls, all three of them. They loaded up, said goodbye to their father, and pulled out of their driveway on May 6, 1989. They could have never imagined what was going to happen to them when they left their home. Joan was 36 years old, Michelle was 17, and Christe was 14. They began making their way down to Florida, stopping in Georgia. They found a hotel the first night and woke up the next morning driving to Florida and starting their trip, enjoying themselves. They sent postcards to their friends and loved ones, telling them about the amazing trip they're having. They're having the time of their life. June 1st was the day that they would all be murdered. On that day, the girls left Orlando to drive to Tampa. But this is where the story loses details from phone calls back home. And it's just simply evidence at this point with what happened that will help the story be told. They left Busch Gardens that day, trying to get back to their hotel, but becoming lost in the process. They pulled over to a parking lot and started to look at a map. This is simply where we know evil finds them. It's believed that the girls asked, or were simply asked by this man, for their help. This is Oba Chandler. Sadly for the three girls, they don't know that Oba is a psychopath and is an active killer with no remorse. It seems that the girls have found the needle in the haystack of bad situations. Oba gives the girls directions, even on one piece of paper his own handwriting, which in the end will be the bloody glove that comes back to haunt him. We know that he offers to take the girls out that night on his boat, saying that he'll show them the sunset and sightsee. He tells them about a boat launch that just happens to be 1 mile from their hotel and where he lives. For whatever reason, Joan believes Oba, and it will lead to a horrific story for all three of them. The girls head over to the hotel and get ready, having a late dinner. They also take pictures in those last hours. These are the very last moments of the Roger girls alive, just hours before their horrific death. They spend these little last moments together, right in their hotel room, laughing, watching TV, fixing their hair. But then it's time to go, driving to their own death. They leave the room and head over to the boat ramp, taking less than 10 minutes. Many people believe that Oba was in the room in these last moments, but the family members disagree with this, saying there's no way they would have let him in the hotel room. It wouldn't have fit the character of the girls. But you can see what looks to be two different arms that are depicted. So whether this is Oba taking a picture of all three of the girls, or it's just a moment in time the picture caught a weird image. We know that the girls arrive at the boat ramp a little after 8:30. This picture is taken on the camera. It's the last one ever taken. They don't know who took it, but it shows the sunset, their last sunset they see. They park their car and jump out and head over to Oba, seeing him on his boat. At this point, this is what is believed to have happened. Oba drives out to the bay, away from sight and sound. Somewhere in that time frame, we never know if the girls really got to see their last sunset over the ocean. But Oba pulls out some sort of weapon, holds them hostage, and ties them up one by one, putting their hands behind their back, tying their feet up together, and then putting duct tape over their mouths. He then assaults them one by one. Mother watches daughter, daughter watches mother, and sister watches sister. The sounds must have been beyond heartbreaking, sounds from the pure pits of hell, but the cruelty continues. He then ties a rope around each of their necks, leading to a cinder block they each have. He left their eyes unduct taped, more than likely on purpose, so they would be more horrified, giving him satisfaction as the fear built. He then picks them up, one at a time, puts them on the edge of the boat, and throws all 3 of them one by one into the ocean. They were still alive. The girls fall all the way to the dark depths of the ocean by themselves and drown with water racing through their nostrils. It's amazing how heartless a human can be. It just doesn't seem real that it could happen like that. Oba then sits down and he calls his wife from his boat, saying that he was having motor problems, but that he'll get home soon. Don't wait up for him. The girls' bodies are found 3 days later, almost 30 miles away from the bay that they parked their car. They float to the top of the water from the gases releasing in their body. As the call comes into the police from people finding the bodies, soon all 3 of the girls are found. Police truly can't believe what they're seeing. There's no privacy in the case whatsoever. It's out in the open for everyone. They pull the girls out one by one. The story blows up throughout the local stations. The girls are taken for autopsies and dentals are pulled. For a moment, they have no idea who these women are. Police are baffled. After 3 days, the girls not returning home, the father, Hal, contacts the police because he's had no contact with his family. Soon 2 and 2 are put together. Hal gives permission for dental records, and the girls are identified. Their car is soon found, where the biggest piece of evidence is also laying in it. There are 2 pieces of paper with handwriting on them, but different handwriting for each of them. The one piece of handwriting is Joan's, where you can see that she's wrote down directions to a boat launch and information on the boat itself. The other one is on a brochure, directions on how to get to the girls' hotel. And on that brochure, it was Oba's handwriting, also along with palm prints. With police having no leads, no real evidence at that time, they take the handwriting from the mysterious person on the brochure and post it on a bulletin board, asking people, do they recognize this handwriting? And eventually, that's what does it. One of the sickest parts about what happened to the girls is the premeditation that went into their murder. Oba prepping in those small hours he had at his home, knowing exactly what he was going to do that night. No second thought, but excited to destroy a whole family. But how the story would wrap up, Oba, who owned his own construction company and always writing checks or bills for work that had been done, had a customer of his, and with the signs being flooded through the area in Florida and on TV, a lady recognized the handwriting that Oba had written on the brochure that was in the Rogers car. In September of 1992, Oba, who was connected to many other terrible crimes on women that have been assaulted or have just disappeared while in his presence, is sentenced to death for the murders of the Roger girls. But Oba would sit in prison for 2 decades, pleading his innocence and still being questioned by authorities with other murders. And on November 15th of 2011, Oba Chandler is sent to death by lethal injection. The father and husband of the Roger girls didn't go to the execution. Instead, he stayed home, the same farm that he had been at where he raised his girls, married to his new wife. It's a sad story that really has no good ending.